Hey, what's up, guys? It's Nonstop Steph, and today I want to do a quick breakdown on why I believe the Bucks will inevitably be losing Giannis as of right now. Here in the next coming years, I do not believe he will be a part of this organization as it is currently constructed, based off his comments that he made earlier this week. So let's get right to it. This past week, he was doing an interview. Essentially, here real soon, he can go ahead and re-sign with the franchise and lock in some more years with the franchise. However, I'm basically paraphrasing when I say this, but he told them that no, he's not going to re-sign with them yet. He doesn't want to re-sign and lock himself down without knowing that the franchise is ready to be competitive for championship. Later on in that conversation, he would continue and say that he wouldn't want to play for an organization for 20 years with no chance to win a championship, right? So again, paraphrasing. Now, I'm not saying that they don't have any chance. However, if you look at the roster as it's currently constructed and then over the series of events over the last couple seasons, I understand where he's coming from. So I think the best thing we could do is look over those series of events and see, is Giannis right in his assessment? And two, what do the Bucks need to do and how do they need to get there? So first and foremost, like I said, let's go over what they did, how they got here, right? So in 2019, Giannis won his first championship, and that was obviously a very, very big feat for him. After winning that MVP in 2019, they would go into the playoffs and they would make it all the way to the conference finals and lose, right? So first time he really got a good chance. At that time, I'm sure he was pleased, but not satisfied, right? It doesn't matter unless you win the championship. You got to win the whole shebang. But at that time, I'm sure he was happy. So what did he do in 2020? He went ahead and signed that Supermax agreement. Like I said, at this point, we're 3 years into that Supermax. And then he would continue into 2020 and repeat as the MVP of the NBA again. Now, what they would do that year in the playoffs is they would only make it to the second round this time, and they would get eliminated. So going into 2021, the goal is very clear. We've won 2 MVPs at that point, made it to the Eastern Conference Finals one time. We got to win the ring eventually. And that's what they did in 2021. Giannis would play fantastic all throughout the year and, of course, into the playoffs, continue that same level of dominance, and they would actually win the championship in 2021. So that's where, if you're feeling like you're the Bucks, that's where the argument lies that we have been competitive. It's only been 2 years removed since you guys have won the championship. But that's not what the next 2 years look like, unfortunately. In 2022, what they would do is they would compete all the way until the second round. So second round exit, unfortunately. So again, if you're Giannis, it only matters if you win the whole shebang. Coming off, 1 year, 2021, you win the championship. All right, it's cool. 2022, you get eliminated in the second year. You can't win them all. And then here in 2023, this past year, they go ahead and get eliminated in the first round. And obviously, we know that had a lot to do with Giannis's early injury in the playoffs. He missed a couple of those games, barely played in one of them. So at that point, you're really hoping that the Bucks, as a number 1 seed, would have enough in the tank to go ahead and take care of an 8th seed, as most number 1 seeds should. If you look at the Western Conference, in my opinion, without their best player, clearly Jokic, I believe, in my opinion, they would still go ahead and beat the 8th seed this past year in the Wolves. Without Jokic, I don't think that the Wolves still would have beaten them. Because I believe the team that is that good around him. Now, I'm not saying that should be the case for every team. I'm not trying to say that to downplay how good Miami Heat was this past year. But in reality, again, if you're a number 1 seed, you should be packing a punch, right? You shouldn't be just so heavily carried and so heavily dependent on your best player that you can't beat, an 8th seed. If you're a number 1 seed, that's what you're expecting. You fought and you played hard your whole year, so that way you would have the easiest path to a championship. And because Giannis's injury, you guys get out that quickly. That I'm sure that's very, very demoralizing if you're Giannis. But nonetheless, in that full span that I just explained, from 2019 to 2023, they were never less than the 3rd seed. They were either the 3rd, the 2nd, or the 1st seed all of those years. So Giannis is watching this team be a regular season beast year in and year out with only 1 championship to show and only 1 Eastern Conference Finals beyond that championship to show. Aside from that, they were losing in the second round and the first round all of those other years. So now let's talk about right now, right? Let's talk about what they actually went ahead and did this offseason after they got eliminated there in the first round. Because if you are the Bucks, you're doing everything you possibly can to be competitive. So that way this upcoming year, you can retain Giannis. You can make sure that you get into the playoffs and hopefully win a championship, right? So they should be gunning. And basically what they did was they said, hey, you know what? We're going to go ahead and we're going to fire the coach. The coach just was not the guy, right? Most people who win a championship 2 years ago do not get fired from their position, but it is what it is. They get rid of Coach Bud. A lot of people have been calling for this for years and years and years, and unfortunately, it finally happened. When he won the championship, nobody was saying nothing, but here we are a couple years later, and everyone's like, yeah, see, this proves why we should have fired him a couple of years ago. So Coach Bud is gone. They bring in Adrian Griffin, right? Now we're going to have to see how they perform. We're going to have to see how the offense flows and runs going forward. We have to see how the defense still looks. And the only other moves that they really did was they re-signed Brook Lopez and they re-signed Chris Middleton. In my personal opinion, when you're analyzing the Eastern Conference as it is right now, that is not enough to win a championship. Looking at what the Boston Celtics did this past season and now this offseason, in my opinion, they are clearly the best team in the East. And to me, it's not even that close. Giannis is the only reason why the Bucks, in my opinion, feel relevant in terms of on any given moment. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're looking to make a big splash. I believe at this point they have to make a trade. I don't know for who, and I don't know how much they're willing to give up. But in my opinion, they have to make a trade. They cannot repeat what the Cleveland Cavaliers did during LeBron's first stint. They have to kind of just throw it all out, And what the Cavs did wrong in LeBron's first stint with them was they held on to some of those assets. They weren't willing to go all in. They weren't willing to give up, trade. They weren't willing to trade picks the way that you see some franchises doing it right now. If you look at the Lakers today, they've given up almost everything just to keep and appease LeBron. So to the point where they almost don't have any future assets. They don't have a future beyond LeBron. So all they're focused on is here right now. And I believe that's what Giannis is looking for the Bucks to do. Like I said, when it comes to the Boston Celtics, today, right now, ever since they traded for Porzingis, in my opinion, they immediately became the best team in the East. And they were arguably the best team in the East last year. And I kind of want to end this video by just kind of recapping and thinking about what Giannis said after he lost this past year, when that reporter was asking him how he felt after that loss and everything, right? And he basically went through this whole speech explaining that in life, there is no such thing as losing. Basically, you have to keep getting better. And that's what he wants to see this organization do. And you can see the frustration. You can see how passionate he was in the moment and how upsetting it was to be basically, challenged that way. And I believe that when you analyze and think about Giannis and his time with the Bucks and the fact that he's not telling the Bucks that he doesn't want to be here. We see this, or the NBA right now is full of superstars telling their organizations they don't want to be here, that they want to trade. Again, like I mentioned, James Harden. I understand why, and I'm not, knocking any of these players for wanting to do that. Damian Lillard, obviously the KD stuff, the whole nine, right? I'm not knocking any of these players for wanting to leave and find themselves in a better organization. But Giannis is telling the Bucks that, listen, man, I'm here and I want to be here, but I can't be here if you guys are not going to support me and put me in a position to be a winner. At the end of the day, this is about winning. So I think that if you are now the Bucks, you have to make a move. I don't know what that move is, but you have to go out this season and make a move before the trade deadline. If you do not have a better squad than you did this past year, then you have to make a move. Because as of right now, just re-signing Brook Lopez, who's only getting older, just re-signing Chris Middleton with his injury history, and just hoping that Giannis can keep giving me 30 points and 12 rebounds a game is not going to cut it as for this franchise. That will not retain Giannis. So at this point, be on the lookout, because either they make a move or Giannis is making a move to another city here in the next couple of years. So with all that being said, of course, I appreciate you guys for listening to the end. Like and sub. Appreciate you guys, and we'll keep this thing going. Have a great day, and peace.